What's going on, YouTube? It's the Half Brain Half Brothers back at you again. Now, before we get into our topic today, I wanted to mention the South Park anniversary concert. Craigo, you were telling me you just watched that. What do you think of it?
Oh my god, I was in love with it. I had to watch it twice at work today.
Nice.
This was so amazing, man.
Yeah, I was gonna look this up before we did this and I forgot, but if I remember correctly, South Park first aired something like 3-4 days after I was born, and I've been watching it literally since the very beginning, since I was a baby. So that was cool to see, but especially that anniversary concert was a really important moment for Rush fans.
Oh my god, I was so surprised.
Yeah, it was great to see. I mean, Getty was in great voice for Closer to the Heart, and it was just nice to see them together again.
And like I knew Matt was a big fan of Rush, but when Trey said he was bringing out a surprise, I was not expecting that in the slightest.
Yeah, they're huge Rush fans, and so is all the members of Primus are insane Rush fans too. But yeah, that was the first time that Getty and Alex played together since like 2015.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
I'm
it's
still
a really important moment for Rush fans and therefore the world.
Yeah, because I'm still you introduced me to Rush earlier this year, and I'm still kind of learning new things because I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I heard there were a lot of tears in the audience. It was a really big moment. So that's pretty cool. In fact, that's how I heard that there was a South Park 25th anniversary concert, was because it was in the Rush forums.
I only found out about it because I seen you were watching it. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know it was actually being put anywhere. I thought it was like if you missed it live, you didn't get to see it.
Right.
Besides that song, what was your favorite song out of the entire concert?
Oh, it's hard to say. Well, the encore of Team America was pretty cool.
I loved the new rendition of Gay Fish.
Yeah.
That really surprised me.
I thought the rendition of Uncle Fucker was pretty cool too, and
oh my god, that was so great.
And
I literally think anyone who loves South Park should that rendition was so good.
Yeah, and seeing them go through some of the different theme song versions was pretty cool, especially the Whamola version, because that's I don't think Les has played that version live before, at least it's not been recorded. He played the actual song Whamola, which is his own song, like the Flying Frog Brigade or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think I finished it all the way. I think I fell asleep to the last 20 minutes of it. Because I didn't even get to, because my breaks weren't that long at work either, so I had to like skim through the concert.
Yeah.
They didn't have anyone do a cover of any of Chef's near the end, right? Any of Chef's songs?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I just wondered because I know they did a orchestra version of Chocolate Salty Balls. So I didn't know if like maybe, because I was like waiting for it the entire time because I thought maybe they'd have at least one in there.
Yeah.
But I understand, obviously.
San Diego was cool too.
Oh my god, yeah. I wish the pictures would have showed up a lot better on the rocks, but I still liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that Les Claypool was wearing the outfit from like the opening intro.
Yeah. Today's topic that I decided and Al also decided was childhood injuries.
Fighting the Frizzies at 11.
What?
Fighting the Frizzies at 11. Old South Park reference.
And there is a specific injury I had as a kid that kind of inspired me to want to do this, but would you want to start off, or would you like me to get a go at it?
Why don't you start this one off?
Alright, so the injury that inspired this as a kid was I have a scar on my face. It's not as big as it used to be. It kind of didn't grow with my face, which thank God. But when me and my nephews were little, we're all about the same age. One's the same age as me, the other's 2 years younger. They had this idea to throw rocks over our neighbor's shed because they, dodge the rocks. That's a really fun game to play. one of the ones that came over was a pretty sharp rock. You know, I didn't even join in at any point. I was like, no, don't do this. Someone's gonna get hurt. I got a little too close, trying to tell them to stop. Got a nice sharp rock right in my face. Hit my head off our shed, which is metal. I ran screaming inside. Nice deep cut on my cheek, bleeding really bad. And my mom and aunt's solution was a bunch of butterfly stitches to keep it shut. And it did heal, but you know, left a pretty big scar that for a lot of years people kept asking about. It used to be the size of my finger. Now it's about maybe 2 fingertips length. That's not a good measurement, but I'm like feeling it right now on my face, trying to judge the size of it. An inch maybe, but it used to take up a big chunk of my face, and it sucked, man. But it's a story I do love to tell. I have an embarrassing one too. It wasn't going to be for the embarrassing stories thing, but it's also an injury. Would you like me to tell that one too quickly, or do you want me to wait?
Yeah, tell it.
All right. I guess this is going to be lumped in bike injuries that I've had.
Yeah.
It was like 5 or 6, and we had this game where we would try to hit the other person's tire with our tire, and this happened 2 times. Once, 5 or 6, hit back my nephew's tire, went flying over his handlebars, and scraped my arm really bad on the ground. And this is the very first time I'd ever heard the word wound. And I was like, oh, that's so much better than boo-boo or whatever. So whenever anyone in school asked, I'd be like, yeah, it's my wound. I got wounded on falling off my bike. And it was so embarrassing because then I started saying it around the house too. I'm like, oh, can you look at my wound? How's my wound doing? Well, I was like, why do you keep saying that? Like, it's what you said. And she's like, yeah, but it's, I guess, but it's just weird. The word wound, it's such a, isn't that for like an actual deep injury? When that, or am I just wrong about that? Am I embarrassed about that for no reason?
I guess it's kind of a general term, I suppose.
So when I think wound, I think like really deep cut.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, something like a bullet wound.
Yeah, I mean,
I just feel like a really bad, like, I mean, it was a really bad scrape. I had a big brown scab on a majority of my arm for a couple weeks, maybe a month.
yikes.
But whenever I think back to it and just think of wound, hearing the word wound and me saying that in my kid voice just feels like, you're so fucking stupid. Don't say that. That's wrong.
Maybe
you should have just said like my scrape, my scab, but wound doesn't seem right.
Maybe you just said it so many times that it sounds weird.
Maybe. The other one, there's 2 more bike injury ones. I wouldn't even say the other one's an injury. It's probably the first time I've ever been actually knocked out. Me and my younger nephew, who's 2 years younger, got into a fight. I want to say this was maybe 10 years old, 9, about there. Got into a fight. My tire was popped, so I couldn't ride my bike at the time. And we and him were switching off, and he wanted to take a longer turn. And, you know, he complained. I was like, whatever. So I just kept standing there at the edge of the road waiting, and I was still trying to like play with everybody, even though I wasn't on a bike. And then all of a sudden, he ran me over from behind. And I was actually unconscious, laying down behind the cars. I don't know how long it was, but by the time I got up, I don't know. Everyone was like stopped on their bikes. I looked up. People were like looking over. They're still standing on our porch, looking over the cars. Like, where'd Craig go? He's not there. I finally got up, and I just like, there was so much pain in my head and like the rest of my leg. And it was, I did not like that, and I was definitely out for at least a minute or 2. That's the first time I've ever been knocked out.
Wow.
the final one, I like telling this one just because no one wanted to help me after this. They just made me walk up back to our house after. I live in a dead end street. There's a big old space. We like to ride our bikes around, turn around there. It's kind of like it's kind of like a two lane. If you can fit two cars in that, like a driveway, but it doesn't belong to anybody on the street, even though some people would like to claim that. So we had a fun idea, just ride our bikes, all of us at the same time, riding in circles and trying not to hit each other. I keep doing smaller and smaller circles and then go back out.
Yeah.
And eventually I went too far sideways, flipped out. I used to wear big baggy blue jeans. And so I fell, scraped along the pavement pretty far. And I was just in a lot of pain. Like it was like I got up and it felt like my legs, my arms, and everything were burning. And I tried walking, and my left leg didn't want to go. It hurt really bad when I even tried to move it in the slightest amount. And I asked them for help. It was my nephews and these two girls that lived on the street. And they're like, "Oh, no, it's okay. Just go up there and have your mom look at it, or you're fine with one of those two." So I went up there all by myself. I started seeing blood coming through my pants.
Oh, wow.
And so the way if you have baggy pants, like blue jeans, if you slowly lift them up, you can get it over whatever's there.
Yeah.
But if you bunch them up to pull it up, you scrape it completely along whatever's there.
Right.
I scraped my blue jeans all the way up this big hole going from the bottom of my knee to about my thigh. And it hurt so bad. It took another month and a half to fully heal. And I was going on a camping trip with my friend Justin at the same week. And we went swimming in this lake. It burned so bad. He would help me put the stuff on my leg, some kind of ointment. And he didn't know what to do either, because it was like the first time I ever really dealt with keeping something clean like that. Mm-hmm. And he put way too much on. I tried slapping a big band-aid on it. It didn't work. It came out the side. So the way we decided to fix that was more band-aids.
Right.
Just keep holding it down until no more came out. And it was just, I kept cleaning up the rest of the ointment off my pants and on my leg for the rest of the day. And it was just so uncomfortable, man. Oh, on that same trip, I accidentally stepped in a fish head, which was gross.
Wow.
I think I have a couple more, but I want you to talk about some of yours.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, me and my friends were pretty daring and pretty stupid. Like, we used to ride scooters, down the road in town and stuff, down these big hills, in front of cars. And, I used to get a lot of the same injuries over and over on the elbows and the knees. And I always needed, the big Band-Aids. But there was one time I was riding somebody's bike, and it didn't have any grips on the handlebars. It was just metal bars. And I was riding around, we were all racing around town or whatever. And at the bottom of the hill, there's these train tracks. And I was going down there, and there was this train. The train knocked me off the bike, and the handlebar went into my gut.
Ooh.
Now, I lied about the train part. There actually was a moving train. I didn't get hit by the train.
Okay.
There was a moving train, though. But anyway, yeah, I actually don't remember what knocked me off the bike. I think somebody ran into me, one of the other kids on bikes, because we were, aggressive like that. So I had to walk the bike, all the way uphill and back, several blocks away to their house. I had, this friggin' half circle in my stomach.
Oh, man.
We used to go down this same hill on scooters, and it was a steep hill, and it was a road. It was a road, but cars weren't there that often. we used to go down on scooters, and at the end, you know, you'd hit that tiny little scooter wheel on the railroad track, and you'd go flying. That's happened a lot. We used to like lay on our backs on skateboards and go down that hill. Just insane.
Did you ever have any like your shoelaces were too long, they got caught in your pedal and sent you flying, but your bike came with you?
Yeah, I've had a lot of those too.
Oh, I had that happen at one of my nephew's old houses. They all live together. I don't know why I said one of their houses. They have separate houses for some reason. I don't know why.
There was this one time I was ice skating like after hours at a place that had hours, and it was just, you know, it wasn't a real ice skating rink. It was just like in the winter they would flood the parking lot and freeze it and let you use it as ice skating rink. And
oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
so this was much later. Me and a coworker actually went and sledding a little bit, and we were skating a little bit. And I was going to take off my skate. This was like 11 p.m. I was taking off my ice skate, and like I was, you know, pulling hard to get it off, and I accidentally bashed myself in the face with it.
Oh.
And I mean, my nose was already feeling kind of numb. My face was kind of numb from the cold, and my hands were kind of numb. But as soon as I bashed myself in the face with it, I just felt like such a stinging in the center of my face, and it felt like I had a runny nose all of a sudden. And the first thing I thought was, oh my god, I just gashed my nose open with the blade of the ice skate. That didn't turn out to be the case, but I was pretty freaked out. I just bashed myself and gave myself a nosebleed, which is like the only athletic nosebleed I ever had. But
I mean, that's pretty lucky, honestly.
yeah, it is.
Oh my god.
So I ended up going to a gas station to clean myself up. I mean, and I was wearing this wool jacket. It was a Nehru wool jacket, and I had blood all over it and blood all over my face. And I walked into this gas station, and nobody's like at the counter. I didn't know if they had a public restroom or kind of a little restroom in the back that you'd have to ask about. So I was just waiting at the counter, and there's nobody there. And I'm thinking, man, this looks freaking weird, because there's this bloody guy standing, waiting patiently at the counter. So, kind of thought they were hiding. Somebody finally comes out, and I'm like, hey, do you have a bathroom I can use? Yeah. So that was really embarrassing, and it hurt.
Oh man, I'm just imagining getting an ice skate to the face.
Yeah.
Ugh. I feel like I've seen a video on YouTube like that. I did think of another story when you were mentioning the bike to the gut.
Yeah.
I think it was 5th grade. I want to say 5th. 5th sounds right to me. My school had this exit, and it was 2 really steep steps. And if you didn't know about it, you're gonna go falling. But at the time, we were going outside for like this little nature walk thing, see what was around the school. And right next to those steps, they had recently cut there's this big yellow pipe. And they cut the top off for some reason. So it was a big, pretty solid yellow serrated pipe right next to these steps that if you don't know about the steepness, you're going falling. So I open the door, I walk out, and I fall stomach first on that pipe. Oof. And, you know, I'm trying to be strong and knock the wind out of me. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. It stings really bad, but I'm fine. I catch up with my friend. I won't say their name. I just caught up with my friends, and I'm like, they were checking on me, like, oh yeah, I'm fine. It's really freaking hurts. I don't know why, like, because I didn't know it was sharp at the time. So eventually I get down on my knees because of the amount of pain I'm in. My teacher comes over, And she comes over, looks at me, she's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "My stomach really hurts." And so she walks me over to the pipe to take a look at it quickly. She sees the spikes. She lifts up my shirt to look at my stomach. I'm bleeding really bad from my stomach. Like, it was really badly bleeding, bruised slightly. That was just at the time, but it got worse. And she was trying to get us inside. She didn't have her pass with her to get us back in. So we were walking around the school looking for doors to get in. Eventually found the music room for like the 6th graders, and that's when they let us. The teacher managed to let us in. She brought me to the nurse, and I was laying in there trying not to pass out, holding my stomach in pain. They gave me ice packs, bandages.
Wow.
And then they called my mom, and I eventually did pass out on the bed. And my mom showed up. They woke me up. She brought me to the doctors, and I was like trying to stay awake in the car, but it was not going well. And everything was fine. They got me patched up, had a lot of different bandages. Pouring peroxide on that was a bitch.
Yeah.
I don't have the scar anymore, but I want to say it went away. Like, the last time I can remember seeing it was 10th grade. So it stuck around for a decent while.
Yeah.
And I can, if I do get hit there by anything, I feel the same exact intense pain all over again. Like, it's like I'm poking it right now and I can feel pain.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that sucked. That really sucked.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, they also removed the pipe after that.
What?
Yeah, they finally decided, you know what? Let's not fix the steps. Let's get rid of that pipe. I remember we went out, we came in that way one time when we were doing something for recess, like kickball. And I didn't realize it was the thing at the time, but it finally looked familiar. And I looked to the left and just see a hole where the pipe used to be. They just ripped it out.
Wow.
They didn't patch it or anything. They just ripped it out of the ground.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think I seen that 7th grade. I want to say 7th grade is when I actually got to go to that door again, and it was just funny. So that means, like, for so long it was just a hole. I really hope at some point they patched it, but I doubt it. Even as a 7th grader, 2 years older, a bit taller, those steps were still sucky and steep.
Some of these friends I had, they were 3 brothers, and they played really rough with each other. And like they had this, there was a pile of dirt out back that belonged to their landlord for something, and we'd like go out and they'd like throw like dirt clumps at each other, like a snowball fight, and we'd like deliberately find ones that had a rock in it and stuff.
Ooh.
It was just crazy. I mean, there's one recent one I had that's really stupid, but I have a scar, which just seems ridiculous for how stupid the injury was and how little it hurt. But there was just like I was putting something in the microwave and the counter was kind of crowded, so I couldn't like open the door all the way. So I just had to kind of sneak by and put something in the microwave, and somebody got my attention, so I had to hurry up and pull my hand out of the microwave. And just my wrist caught on the plastic latch on the door, and it just scraped me up pretty good or whatever. And it hurt, but I mean, I was like, oh, that sucks. It kind of burns, but then like so much time went on, like maybe 2 months went on, and I actually have a scar from that. Kind of an ugly one too for such a stupid injury.
I'll tell the one about my nephew quickly. Trying to think of ages. I don't know. I feel like I should add ages to it, but definitely still young. Maybe 10, maybe 2009ish. I wasn't there when it happened, but I seen it the day later. Him and his little brother were fighting over something, and his little brother, the one who hit me with the bike, he was riding his bike towards him in their garage area slash basement. It was a weird kind of house. And he backed him into a corner where the water heater was. And off the side, there was a really sharp piece of metal that went right into his leg and pushed up the meat in his leg. And it was deep. Like it was, I want to say he was 10. He's 23 now. And the scar, dude, it's plain as day. It hasn't changed since it healed back then. You can even see like if you feel it, you can feel where the meat got pushed up because they couldn't put it back where it was. They just did their best to fix it, and it feels weird when you touch it. It really does. Yeah. Didn't you have a story like that too? I think I've told you this story before because you said something that reminded me of it.
I'm not sure. It might actually be the story that you just reminded me of. Since I know a lot of people who were in the Vietnam War, and they always have, of course, lots of stories. This one guy told me that a guy was wearing a Marine was wearing a wedding band when he jumped out of a helicopter, and the wedding band caught on something on the helicopter and peeled the skin off his finger.
Ooh.
So it's pretty crazy.
I have a recent story about is it recent? Yeah, it was July? It was sometime this year. My buddy went into the military and he had just come home because he broke his leg. I feel like saying broke his leg. I'm not super close with him. He's more my cousin's friend that I met. But it was either a rope or a chain caught his leg on a helicopter. Oof. And he was brought 10 feet up from the ground by his leg. And yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
So he was home for a while. It might have been last year, honestly. I want to say August, and it's definitely not this August.
Right.
So I think last year it had to have been.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm trying to think of any more of my own that I have. Because I feel like there's one I'm forgetting.
Right.
I can talk about my head injuries, I guess, that I've had. So at my old job, I'm a very lazy kind of guy. So I worked at a place that had car parts, and I was stocking rotors onto shelves.
Yeah.
And normally the shelf that I was supposed to go to, you need a ladder to go to, but I was being super lazy. So I tried throwing the rotor up onto the shelf. And the first time it worked, the second one came back down, smacked me in the head, and I couldn't move for a couple minutes. I had to use my head to pull me close to the edge of the shelf, just scream for help.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was terrifying because I literally lost all motor function. I was just barely awake. Somehow didn't get a concussion from that. Wow. Don't fully understand how I didn't. Second one. What was this? There was a second one. I know there was a second one because that one actually gave. Oh, I was an unloader who loaded stuff off a line and onto a truck. Mm-hmm. And our wrap machine was broken at the time, so we had to wrap pallets by hand. Yeah. This guy left a roll of wrap, industrial wrap, so it's solid. Mm-hmm. On the ground, and we were trying to quickly get as many boxes off as we could, so he piled boxes on top of the wrap, and we were trying to clean it up and everything, and eventually I stepped back, slipped on the wrap, and smacked my head off a plastic bin. I actually have a photo of my head I don't know if I showed you or not. But I had a red mark on my forehead it was just really painful, but it gave me a concussion.
Wow.
I think it's my first concussion I've ever had.
Yeah, I used to get them all the time.
My third injury was the worst one. This one I know I've definitely told you about. So when we're loading stuff on the trucks, we're the only ones who are supposed to do that, me and whoever my partners are at the time. We have normal packers who do small stuff, like, and maybe even rotors, depending on if it's the amount. But there's an area for bulk, which deals with struts, anything that's could not fit in a regular sized box.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not supposed to put things on the truck, but they would constantly break the rules and put stuff on the truck. And one time they built a wall on the truck. Like, we're supposed to put things on pallets and then put them in there. They built a wall against the back of a truck that we didn't know they were doing that to. I heard something fall in there. And before I go forward this, my manager and our team leader down on the floor were up in his office talking about them doing that and how it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Okay. While this was all going on. So I go in the truck, I heard something fall, so I will go in and see what's going on. I pick up the thing on the ground, and another box comes down and hits me really hard on the head. And dude, the pain I felt in my head, it was going through my entire head. It felt like 18 headaches all at once, just coming and not stopping whatsoever. I'm holding my head. I don't notice anything weird. I just know my body started tingling really bad. I walk out of the truck, go to this little area where there's no cameras, right? I mean, there might be a camera looking at the area. I don't know. But it's another bay that's off to the side. And I'm just sitting there holding my head, hurting really bad. I'm just waiting for the pain to go away. And then I open my eyes finally, and I look down, and there's just blood. Just a ton of blood coming from me. And like, I don't feel any wetness on my hands or anything. I didn't really feel anything, to be honest, besides just pain in my head, so that wasn't good. And my buddy comes back to see why I'm taking so long to come to lunch, because it was right before lunch. And he sees me bleeding, and he freaks out. He's like, "What happened?" I can't even talk properly. I need help. So we go to my supervisor. He's also a good buddy of mine. And he sees me. He's like, "Bro, what the fuck happened?" He's like, "We need to get you. We gotta get you somewhere and bring me up to my manager's office." While they're talking about all this, they bring me in.
That's where they need to take you, right?
Sadly, because my well-being wasn't as important as filling out an accident report. And so I go up, they bring me up to his office. I'm literally bleeding on his floor while they were just talking about how it's not safe. And it was, dude, it was so bad. And like, all right, Joe, can you bring him out to the lunchroom, which is literally right outside his office, to fill out an accident report? And I'm like, my hands are covered in blood. My head isn't stopping bleeding. And you're going to have me fill out an accident report? Because can someone fill it out for me? He's like, no, you have to fill it out. What the fuck you mean I have to fill it out? What the fuck?
Right.
So they bring me to the bathroom, which is also right next to the lunchroom, to clean my hands up, and at least enough to have a pen and not drip on the page, of course. And my head started leaking onto the page, so they had to get me a new one. They actually got me paper towels to keep my head closed, if you want to say that. So let me fill that out, and then instead of like calling an ambulance or anything, my manager gets me into his car and drives me to a place that they are required to bring me to instead of a hospital.
What?
They brought me into the waiting room where I was sitting, filling out more paperwork, bleeding from my head for an hour. And at one point, another person came in, seeing how bad I was, and sat at the furthest part of the room from me. And then they were finally like looking over at me, and they're like, they finally brought me into a room. It's not it looked like an exam room to finally get looked at. It wasn't. It was just a room they put me in so people wouldn't see me bleeding for about another 2 hours.
Wow.
At this point, my head started drying up, just matted blood all in my hair. And the doctor finally gets to me and she's like, oh my, what the fuck? And she's like pissed, freaking out, like looking at me. Cause I was trying so hard not to pass out.
Yeah.
Like I was actively like white as hell, falling asleep, trying not to fall asleep. And I didn't know I was pale until they actually brought me into the room, and they have a mirror right there. Dude, I was a ghost. And so she was freaking out. I think she yelled at somebody because of it. And they asked why I didn't go to an emergency room. I'm like, oh no, this is where my boss brought me.
Yeah.
And that also happened with the rotor too, and my actual concussion. But the both those times, they brought me there only for a drug test and didn't tell them about my head. I had to tell them about that and was directed to upstate. So yeah, she gets these wipes to try and clean my head up the best she can with all the matted blood, so she can actually see what's going on. And she was just, I see like dry blood. She's picking dry blood off my head to try and see anything. And she finally gets to it, dude. And because I lost feeling in my head for a while, like I felt pain, but like radiating pain coming from somewhere on my head. But the actual place where I was hit and bleeding from, I couldn't feel anything until she actually touched it. And I cried. I started actually finally crying. And like, it's not like, you know, it's just my eyes just started watering and not stopping, just tears streaming down my face. I wasn't actively crying, but
Yeah.
my body was letting out tears like I was.
Right.
And so I had to get my head stapled shut. And when I got back, they said, are you able to come back and work tomorrow? I'm like, I don't fucking know. What do you think? I think I was out like 2 weeks, maybe more. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, even better part. No, that was definitely the best part of it all, the most enjoyable part. But when I was getting the staples removed, I had to go back to that specific place again. And I was bringing Darren and Dante home. And they were out in the car for 3 hours waiting for me. They took 3 hours to get out all those staples in maybe 10 seconds. And that's all they did. They took out all those staples, took 10 seconds. And then I was like, on your way. They didn't fill out anything. Took 3 hours to do that. That's not bullshit, dude. And there was no one else there. There were no cars outside. I seen people walking around because my door was open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're telling me nobody could just quickly walk in, take 10 seconds, take these staples out so I can go home?
Yeah.
That's probably my worst recent injury I've ever had. That was 2019, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. I believe I got a concussion from that too. Yeah, he has a concussion, but can you just get him drug tested? And I called my manager back after that too, and I was like, I don't know if they only had me here for a drug test. Like, yeah, I brought you there for a drug test. Like I smacked my head really hard off a plastic bin. Something doesn't seem, I feel like something's not right because my head doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I mean, let them know then. I'm like, he came in with me, by the way, to tell them things. Like, the first time, no one came in with me. They just brought me there and that was it. The plastic bin time, he walked me in because I wasn't coherent. Like, I could not talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything coming out of me was slurred and just not right. And fucker only told them to give me a drug test. Just for them to eventually say, you need to go to upstate. Like, the person who was here who could have handled that left.
Yeah.
like a couple minutes ago. Like we didn't have anyone still here for that. Like, if you would have told us when you came in, that would have been a different, like, yes, yeah, I got brought to upstate, got a nice gown put on me, and after about another hour of just sitting in a room full of strangers, because there was no actual rooms to go in, it was just, I can't even really describe what the area looked like. It was really weird. But yeah, I was just sitting there shirtless with a gown on for them just to look at my head and say, look at my eyes, and like, oh yeah, you have a concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like every time I did get injured there, it was always pretty serious where I was out for a while. So like it wasn't like, I don't know, they tried to blame me at one point saying I was accident prone. How the fuck am I accident prone? Because your fuckers can't do shit right.
Right.
Like, granted, the rotor was my fault. The wrap thing wasn't my fault because we have procedures to not just throw fucking boxes all over the floor. All right, I think it's about time we end this and call it a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed our lovely topic this time.
Injuries.
I almost said thank you for joining me, Al, but that'd be weird since we're both going to be here every time.
Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Amen.
And let us know if you like. So each episode is gonna be a different length, probably for the first little bit. But let us know if you liked the length of the first episode or this episode better. We always appreciate feedback.
And if you guys have any funny, embarrassing, or other injuries that you want to talk about, let us know in the comments.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.